car, but up front it's Germany on the inside, South Africa on the outside, and we're getting ready to go here at Zandvoort. Red light on. It's the start of the feature race. Away we go, and South Africa quick off the line. Germany not quite so quick, under threat from behind. Oh, look at this behind, it's all getting very tight, but South Africa leads into the first corner. Germany in second, Switzerland trying to go around the outside.
Great Britain on the inside, alongside I think it's Mexico or the Swiss team, so that everybody made it through? They have got through turn one cleanly.
Great Britain is in third, managed to fight off Switzerland. They were side by side through the first corner, but Great Britain in third place, Switzerland in fourth position, being chased I think by France, yes, and then Mexico, and there was somebody in the gravel briefly, but I think they got back out on the exit of Tarzan corner.
But for Jeroen Bleekemolen, there you see him coming through now, caught in the middle of that batch. He made up progress in the opening 2 laps, but look at Germany under pressure already from Oliver Jarvis and Team GBR, and Oliver Jarvis wants to scalp as quickly as possible to try and tag onto the tail of South Africa.
Yeah, Hoofdrace is taking his time to get up to speed a little bit here, the German, and in the meantime South Africa's being able to escape up front and really begin to pull away already. Germany now just beginning to pick up the pace, and Jarvis for Great Britain under pressure from Switzerland now for his third place. Neil Yarni for Switzerland goes side by side with Great Britain, can't hold him and has to slot back in again.
Indeed, and you've got France with Loic Duval right behind the Swiss car, so those 3 cars running in third, fourth and fifth are certainly all looking to find one way or another to get past. Opening lap, always the opportunity to catch the unwary. Always people tend to be. Here we can see a situation where France now quicker through turn 10, quicker through 11. Can he get alongside? Can he pass down into turn 1?
Let's have a look. France, Loic Duval looking to try and get past Switzerland. New colours on Switzerland's car. It's not silver and red as before. And Switzerland a bit deep, but he's, oh no, side by side on the exit. And Switzerland staying in front, but now France might have a chance.
Yeah, but he who's in the inside can take turn 3, but this time there was single car filed through that corner. So a lot of action in this opening lap into lap 2. France aggressive against Switzerland, Great Britain aggressive against Germany.
South Africa leads by over a second from Germany and Great Britain, then Switzerland and France involved in this tussle. France car looks a little bit like the Great Britain car did last year in terms of colour scheme. There it is, Team France going through in 5th, Mexico in 6th, New Zealand 7th, then it's Ireland, Czech Republic and India in 10th place.
So Oliver Jarvis and Team GBR getting back to the position they were 1 lap ago. They lost ground here in turn 6. That allowed Germany to draw away. So Oliver Jarvis has to keep himself in control. He knows that this is going to be a long race. He believes that Christian Hoofdrace for Team Germany may not have the physical stamina that Jarvis thinks he's got, but we'll see at the end of 45 laps.
And for host nation Netherlands, the start didn't go particularly well. Netherlands started in 11th. They've lost 3 places. They're down to 14th position. So Jeroen Bleekemolen not making the sort of first lap that he did in the sprint race. His work is cut out even more greatly now. Portugal did make a few places though, having started at the back. Portugal got up to 19th, and Malaysia also has made up some 5 places on the opening laps, up to 15th position.
And there we just got a quick glimpse of the Netherlands team in 14th, running behind Canada there in 13th, comes down into Germany, Great Britain. Oliver Jarvis late in the brakes, runs right under the rear wing. There you can see the rear view from the German car with the camera facing backwards, how close these 2 cars are.
This is the revised colour scheme you're looking at for Team GBR, and Oliver Jarvis again, just like he did earlier on when they were fighting for position lower down the order, is right with that German car of Christian Hoofdrace, but so far he can't find a way past. Behind Great Britain is still the Swiss car of Neil Yarni, and then the French car driven by Loic Duval.
We get to the top of the hill here into turn 5, 250 kilometers per hour. Here's the start from a high camera position. Look how close they got to the pit lane.
Yeah, South Africa certainly made the good start there, but it was the battle for third. Great Britain just on the inside of Switzerland, which was interesting to follow. That was the other view of it once again. Look just behind, the battle for third place is the one to watch, and really a bit of chopping and changing, and Jarvis did well to get back down the inside of the Swiss car.
Yes, and if you get in the inside, you've got a chance. It's a question of what happens going into turn 3, and that went back to the advantage of Switzerland.
Now, Bleekemolen made a good start initially. I wonder where it went wrong for him, because he tried to gain some places. He went round the outside. Was he the one I saw skirt with the gravel, perhaps? Let's take a look here, John. He's out wide. Did he get a squeeze?
Yes, he did. He got squeezed, because that's always the problem. You go around the outside. It's fine to try and do it on a single car overtake. Doing it at the start of the race, inevitably you're going to be squeezed up and off the racetrack.
Well, it was probably worth the gamble from Bleekemolen's point of view. Here we go again. Battle for second place. Both on the power boost. Jarvis trying to go around the outside. Great Britain trying to take second from apart. Yes, what a great move by Oliver Jarvis.
Fantastic move by Oliver Jarvis. He braked very late. He did what we were told by Jeroen Bleekemolen. You can brake much later if you want to take the outside line. He did it. He maintained his position. He didn't get over a commenter. There's a big shunt somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, somebody's run into the back of another car, and there's bodywork, and there's a rear wheel. This is a replay of what took place just a minute ago. Jarvis was able to run into the corner deeper and faster, but he was able to control the speed and then get the advantage off the corner and out-accelerate Team Germany.
There was the reaction on the Great Britain pit wall as Oliver Jarvis moved up into second. Now the Portugal car is blocking the pit lane entrance. There's a message gone up on the timing screens to warn the teams.
Yeah, something occurred on the exit of turn 11. That's the final corner onto pit straight, and it's culminated with that car coming to a standstill with the left rear wheel at 90 degrees to where it should be. That car will have to be removed, and there's pit lane blocked, so nobody can get in. We're only on lap 3, lap 4 we're on now, so pit lane window wouldn't even be open if you had to.
Look at the cars all bunched up further back. Netherlands, by the way, has got up to 13th now. Canada in 14th. Malaysia still in 15th. You're looking at Australia back in 21st and last place effectively now that Portugal is stopped, unfortunately. But what was interesting to me, Great Britain has just set the fastest lap of the race. They are closing on South Africa, and South Africa is not getting away at all like we saw in the earlier race. India under pressure from Brazil and passed by Brazil. India loses 10th place. That's the new Brazilian driver, Sergio Jimenez, who's gone through.
I just wonder, there's a waved yellow. Let's look and see what occurred. That's what occurred. Just simply went too wide, came out of turn 11. The car slammed. Oh, and look, you see the magnesium in the rims. Left front, left rear. And then the car just pivots on the floor and slides into the pit lane entry.
Let's hear from team principal for Portugal with Simon.
Louis, you look like maybe Charles made a mistake there.
Well, still have to understand well what happened, but well, anyways, really bad luck. Very bad weekend for us here.
You had some problems, obviously had an off earlier in the weekend, but seemed to be fairly quick in the first practice session.
Yeah, so, you know, drone show he has the speed, you know, so I think just need now to turn this into results, but I think we have the car was looking very good and our strategy for the race was good, but okay, let's race it.
Thanks, Louis.
Thank you.
Now look at this, John. Very close. South Africa on a full tank of fuel, remember. All of these cars running heavier than they had to in the sprint race. Does not have the pace, and Great Britain certainly does. It's closed right up. We've got a tussle for the lead between South Africa and GBR.
And you can see that the South Africa car coming out of turn 10 ran right out to the very edge of the track and a bit more. There are waved yellow flags on the exit of 11. You're meant to go past at a slower pace than you would under racing. I think that's why we saw India getting overtaken by Brazil, that some drivers are being more observant on that yellow flag in the exit of 11, which bears a relevance to the top speed they will attain before they come into turn 1.
And meanwhile, Germany under more threat from Switzerland behind for third as well. So you've got two little tussles here going on, plenty of tussles in fact, all the way down the order. But for the lead, it's South Africa versus Great Britain. Adrian Zaug, who won earlier on today. Oliver Jarvis, who took victory last year in Mexico, and he would love to get Great Britain's campaign up and running here today. The sprint race qualifying didn't go so well for him, but he did still score some points from it. But he's got a real chance here. Long way to go in the race, though. 40 laps and 2 pit stops still to go.
Yes, it is. And whether that the lap times have actually dropped by about a second and a half a lap, and I suspect that is the function of having that waved yellow flag. So some drivers will no doubt bear more relevance to the flag. You are meant to slow down while there is a safety car and a stationary yellow flag at any given corner.
Great Britain certainly that little bit quicker over the last few laps than Team South Africa, but now having caught the car, it's a different story to actually find a way past. There's very little difference between them once they're running close together like this, but again he tries to get as close as possible here. This is the crucial part of the lap where Zaug actually is very fast. At this final bend, Zaug has had a little bit of an edge most of the weekend. This time, it's still the yellow shown on the exit, but they'll be back to green as they come down towards the first corner. And Great Britain on the power boost, that gives him an extra 30 horsepower, not able to make the most of it.
No, but if Oliver Jarvis wants to find a way past Adrian Zaug, what he's going to have to do is what he really did so successfully to Germany, and try and run down, not tight into the corner as we would expect you to do, but take that higher line and carry the speed around the outside of the corner.
What's going on for India here? He's dropping back. He's been passed by Italy. Netherlands, I think, has nipped past, and Narain Kartikeyan's really struggling.
Yes, he's struggling, I think, physically. That's one aspect. He's recovering from a nasty bout of dengue fever. The other thing is they didn't have the car set up as they had hoped for the sprint race. They didn't know where they made certain changes to the car, believing that that was going to improve it. I think it's the combination of those two facts are contributing to India dropping back.
So India back down behind Italy and the Netherlands, as I say. That brings Netherlands up to 12th place now. And this is the battle for the lead, though. Zaug is definitely having to go a bit defensive. Third place, Germany's managed to ease away from Switzerland. Behind him, it's still France and Mexico. New Zealand in 7th, Ireland in a solid 8th place from the Czech Republic. Good effort from new boy Eric Yanis for the Czechs. And 10th place, another new boy, Sergio Jimenez for Brazil. Behind them, it's now Italy, Netherlands, then India and Canada.
The other big difference everybody here is facing is that's the first time this weekend they've run the cars with full tanks. That makes a big difference to the car's handling. It also has a significant effect on how you use your tyre. It's very easy on the first lap on a brand new set of tyres to overwork the tyre, and in effect what you would do is put yourself on the back foot, whereas others that maybe were a little bit more cautious at the beginning and the first lap, they'll maybe find they've got a better consistency over the run until they make that mandatory first stop.
No one on the power boost this time around. New Zealand, I noticed, have used quite a lot of their power boost already, having gone from 10th to 7th in this race. We have been notified a drive-through penalty to Team China. China currently running down in 19th place.
So we're coming on to the start of this, the 8th lap. So at the end of this lap, in theory, anybody who wants to make a pit stop will be free to do so.
That's right, first pit window between laps 8 and 16. You've got to have completed 8 laps before you can come into the pit. So I think we've got one more lap, and then we could well see the leaders starting to make their pit stops. And that could be a huge opportunity for Great Britain if they can rattle off a quick pit stop. Two top teams involved here on the engineering side, though, and I would imagine both teams to execute a pretty fast pit stop.
I think part of the problem, Adrian Zaug, you can see it in turn 8, he's having to wait to get the front of the car to bite before he can get into the corner, get back on the power, whereas the Team GBR car with Oliver Jarvis has got more bite in the front of the car, enabling him to get into the corner, have more variation if he needs it of entry into the corner. Again, look how close he's behind the South Africa car coming out of turn 10, but it's out of the next corner. He's got to get his car almost under the rear wing and then choose to do what he did so successfully by going around the outside to get past Germany.
Well, here we go. He's going wheel to wheel with Zaug again, and this time he's going to have a look around the outside, but he's not alongside this time. Zaug is clever, covers the inside, slows the car sufficiently and doesn't allow Jarvis to get alongside. So no change between the top two, but it's all allowing Germany, Switzerland and the others to close up. And Zaug there just a fraction wide on the approach to the corner into Hugenholtz, the hairpin that then leads through these fast Slottermacher corners, these sweeping bends, 250 kilometers an hour up through this section, 150 miles an hour near enough, and then plunging downhill again.
Yeah, it's a very late brake, down a gear, on the throttle. In fact, if you're running in a qualifying trim, that's taken in 5th gear. There's the first car in, so we're seeing is
Team Italy, I think it is,
yes,
in the pits, and they are the first to make a pit stop. That's interesting. And now we get into the pit stops, we will get confused. But
well, China are also indicated of being in, but they had a drive-through penalty, so we don't think they had a pit stop for tyres. It was just they came through the pit lane for that penalty. We don't know what Frankie Chang for China might have done, but clearly it's sufficient. It may have been to do with that situation on the exit of turn 11 where the Portuguese car crashed out.
Look how close Germany's got to this, and with pit stops coming up, that will make a big difference, because Germany suddenly now in with a real chance, if they have a quick pit stop, of actually coming out leading. There's a bit of a mistake there from Jarvis, just a touch wide on the apex. Look how Zaug was able to open up. That could be crucial. Are they going to come in this time? Oh, somebody's coming in very slowly.
Very slowly indeed. Will one come in? Can't tell the colour of that car, but Jarvis for Great Britain has decided to come in at the earliest opportunity.
Germany's in as well behind him, so that's crucial. We'll see what happens between those two teams. Germany up near the top end of the pits and Great Britain somewhat further down. Now remember, in A1GP, the crew has to be in the garage until the car has come to a stop. Only one man on each corner allowed.
New tyres going on to Germany as Ireland comes in, and it's almost, you can see the difficulty of the pit lane here. So off the jacks for Great Britain. Where are Germany?
They have stayed about the same, John, I think. Pretty similar pit stop, slightly quicker on the timings, but there won't be any change of position. Netherlands have gone for the early stop, but have they had a slight problem? Away they go. We didn't get the full time on that one. So early stoppers there. Malaysia have also come in. I think Malaysia had a problem though. I think they were the one going slowly coming into the pits.
So we see Germany now in clear air. We're looking to see where Team GBR are in relation to Team Germany.
Now, South Africa did not stop on that lap. Surprises me a little bit, but they've left Adrian Zaug out there. He is still our race leader. Switzerland now runs second.
So GBR went through the picture. Now we're looking at Germany. There's about a 2 to 3 second gap between these two teams running respectively before their pit stops. Second and third, they'll have dropped down now because they're out of sync with all the rest of the field. Adrian Zaug, keep an eye on his lap times. Currently running in the high 1 minute 32s. Essentially, he's going slower by the lap. We wait to see. There's a lock-up on those new tyres for Germany. We'll wait to see.
Oh, what a spin.
And that's Lebanon.
Yeah, Lebanon. Chris Aladjadjian, who's made a spin. He's recovered it well, and that won't cause too many problems squeezing around the outside of him. Mexico, and I think that was a bit of a fist-waving moment.
I think that was a Mexican wave, a single-handed Mexican wave.
Indeed it was. Salvador Duran wasn't too impressed.
Do you know why? He's just gone fastest in the second sector, and that was the middle of the second sector where that incident occurred.
Now, the man who was running second and behind South Africa's come in. That's Switzerland. There you are, looking at the Swiss car. A lot more blue on this car this year, and they've got the Swiss mountains represented on the engine cover. This is going to be tight. Oh, he just manages to squeeze out. I think that was New Zealand, wasn't it, in the pits as well at the same time. And they come out behind Germany. That's the crucial thing. Switzerland.
Absolutely. So
yeah.
Those two teams, New Zealand and Switzerland, have done very well indeed. Netherlands are now showing to be fastest of overall in that middle sector. And again, young Christian Vittoris suddenly finding himself having had a lap of clear traffic under pressure from Switzerland. Johnny Reid, the first time we've really seen the New Zealand car running in the top six. The kind of performance we became accustomed to, but look, real pressure coming. A pass possible into 5. Takes you to be very brave. It takes a Dutchman to do a pass down into turn 5.
Yeah, tough place, isn't it? So little braking required. Here are our race leaders, and they're much closer now. It's South Africa and France. Now, interestingly, these guys share engineering knowledge. These are twin teams, if you like. They run together, and they haven't come into the pits yet.
I think we're going to see Adrian Zaug coming in very quickly. That car is not handling. Well, France is the one that's coming in first. Zaug's car through 10 and 11. You could clearly see how much the car was sliding in relation to that of France. And I don't know whether Adrian Zaug has overused those new tyres at the start of the race and paying the penalty now, but he's staying out that last lap of 32.8. We need to check to see what happens with Germany, Great Britain and Switzerland as they would do their first flying lap on that fresh rubber.
Yeah, well, it'll be very interesting to see where France comes out here. Will France come out ahead of the likes of Great Britain and Germany? That's where the interesting point is, because remember, they weren't far behind. They were in that sort of group before the pit stops began. Here we are, riding on board New Zealand, and he's attacking Germany, trying to get past, and he may well have got the move done.
No, he didn't. No, this is not Germany. We're not looking at Germany here.
They're behind. He did. He nipped through. So Germany's lost places there. Not only Germany, but Switzerland have got past Germany.
The problem is Johnny Reid's overrunning the back of Team Pakistan. Adam Khan having just made that move. We saw the beginning of the group of cars that these two were behind as we go back to France. And now we've got Great Britain and Germany and Switzerland behind them. Johnny Reid finding his way past some of these back markers, with Germany again finding themselves caught, trapped in a part of the racetrack where it is difficult to pass even a much slower car.
Well, Germany's certainly gone backwards after the pit stops. Christian Vittoris, you're riding with him now, has not enjoyed a very good part of the race. He's got a lot of work to do. Team Italy under investigation. I think that's because they came in a lap too early. I don't think 8 laps had been completed when they made their stop, and it's very firm in the rules now that 8 racing laps have to be completed. I think that might be what the problem is there. Christian Vittoris still tied up behind Pakistan.
Yes, this is the problem. It's very hard to pass around the back. You can see his hand coming out of the cockpit. He wants to pass down the inside into turn 9. He does so, and again, cars all over the place. Contact, something flicked up. I'm not sure, wasn't the Arnold car.
There's already damage to the Pakistan front wing. Leader in, South Africa into the pits. Now, where is Zaug going to come back out? I don't think he's going to be leading this race when he comes back out. In fact, Brazil take over the lead. They've not made a pit stop yet. But the big question is who, I think,
there
Great
he is.
Britain.
Jarvis is going to take the lead. He is taking it because Brazil are still in the pit lane.
Team South Africa rejoins, whereabouts just in front of Switzerland. So effectively they'll be in second place once everybody's made a pit stop. Brazil are leading this race, but Great Britain, through the pit stops, have got ahead of South Africa.
Indeed, that was absolute key for Great Britain. Adrian Zog struggled for those last 5 or 6 laps. For some reason his car lost the poise and the pace that it had in the sprint race. Oliver Jarvis has got a much quicker car. In fact, the fastest race lap to date has been recorded by Canada, James Hinchcliffe. Where has that one come from?
I don't know, that's fantastic. Well done to Team Canada. They've had a tough weekend, but he's still a long way down. He's in 14th place. Just shows you that the car is fast, and maybe they can pick up some places as this race goes on. Still a long way to go. 33 laps to go in a 45-lap race. A second pit stop at around the 30 to 38 lap mark. And we'll see exactly what happens then. But Great Britain have certainly gained the advantage here on the first round of stops.
So now things begin to settle down. They've had the best of that new tyre. So we look at
Pakistan,
yes, the contact.
He's having a front wing change there. As we saw, there was a bit of damage to the front of the car, and it's taken them a little while to get that changed.
Yes, the nose is very securely located, and to get those bolts undone and to get the new Alex Young in the pits, and looks like a retirement work on that left rear corner. Whether that's a suspension damage or whether it's something to do with the drivetrain, we don't know.
Brazil comes in, so our leader, who was in front just briefly there, now comes in for the first pit stop. That means that Great Britain leads from South Africa in second place, Switzerland now in third, New Zealand in fourth. I'll tell you what, New Zealand, John, of all of them, have gained the most really, because they started down in 10th. They were up to 7th, I believe, before the pit stops, but New Zealand will now be in 4th position.
It's a circuit that Johnny Reid, first time here, he didn't get a good opportunity on Saturday because of the weather conditions. They didn't get the car balance, the setup that they liked. There's no difference in reality between this car on screen now, Germany and New Zealand. They share engineering, they cross over that information. It was just quite simply, I think, that Johnny Reid didn't feel the feel of the circuit in the way that he's done on other racetracks. Having gone through the sprint race, he finished, New Zealand finished 9th in that. Now he can make the changes, and now he can use the speed that we know he's got. South Africa, incidentally, have just recorded the fastest sector time in Sector 2, as they are now on their first full flying lap on those new tyres.
Yeah, well, the question is now, will South Africa begin to close that gap up to Great Britain? We'll have to wait and see exactly what happens. You're riding on board there with Germany. Looking back at the Mexican car, they're running 6th. Well, it'll be 5th and 6th once the Brazilian pit stop's been taken into account. And then behind them, Ireland is still in the battle too. Ireland with Ralph Furman driving the car. Didn't race at all in season 2 of A1GP, but was a front runner in the first season. Out of the race, I'm afraid. Joining Malaysia and Portugal in retirement is Team India.
Yes, I think that's a combination of car handling and driver not being 100%. So India in the pits. Fastest lap, Adrian Zog. And the gap between Zog and Great Britain,
Mexico passing Germany, Mexico getting down the inside, passing Germany, and Germany running onto the grass there. I'm not quite sure why. Very wide into the hairpin, but Mexico takes 5th place.
So Salvador Duran, again, a lot of maturity, a lot of skill and speed. Ireland running there in 7th place.
Yeah, with France right behind, and France is potentially quicker, I would think, than Ireland, looking at how close they're running together at the moment. But Furman will be tough to pass. Ralph Furman, one of the most experienced competitors out here, of course.
Now watch Duval. Can he make a dive down the inside in turn 5? Very risky to do it. Well covered by Ralph Furman. He didn't give him the opportunity. But that opportunity now will only come either if Furman makes a misjudgment or mistake, or wait until you come out of turn 10 and get yourself in position to slipstream out on the exit at 11 and down into turn 1 again. It's really a question. You got one good shot, that's into the Tarzan corner, or alternatively you try to force an issue, possibly here in turn 8. That's when we saw Ralph Furman being overtaken earlier in the sprint race by Oliver Jarvis.
New fastest lap to South Africa now in 2nd place, chasing down Great Britain. The gap between the two leaders 1 second as France continues to apply the pressure to Team Ireland.
Yes, that was a 1 lap ago. It was on his first flying lap on those new tyres. The gap, as I mentioned a minute ago, just over a second, but they were coming across start and finish line, and we'll see whether that's a second. It's 1.1 seconds, so the gap has fractionally increased as everything begins once again to settle down.
Yeah, and the new tyre sheen is taken off the South African car, so he used it to good effect, but now the tyres are more similar. Ralph Furman and Loic Duval, Ireland versus France. These two guys have been racing in Japan throughout most of the year, concentrating on different championships. Ralph Furman, joint leader of the Japanese GT Championship, so he hasn't been in a single-seater for a little while. Doesn't seem to show, though, that he's right in the battle here. Great to see you're riding on board with him in the startling green colours of the Belmain A1 Team Ireland car. New title sponsorship for that car this year, and so far he's defending the series from the Series 1 champions, Team France, with Loic Duval still seeking his first win in A1GP.
Well, that was all a bit frenetic. Now everybody's had their pit stop, some of it in twice, but that's for other reasons. Great Britain 1.1 second advantage over South Africa. Switzerland a further 2.7 seconds behind South Africa. Mexico making their way forward. They're now running 1.3 seconds behind New Zealand in fourth. And we've got another pit stop to go.
Yeah, it's still lots to go here, and it's really a question of trying to consolidate positions here, seeing who may just have a little bit of an edge. They've got to settle down into a rhythm. Certainly France looks like the one that might do something, tucked in behind Ireland.
Well, Ralph Fairman, back in an A1GP car since the original series, and I mean, driving a car, he hasn't been in a single seater of this nature for what, that's part of a year and a half. Car moving around a little bit, but it's not going to inhibit him too much here on the exit. This is where all the gain that you're going to make should take place. You get into the slipstream, but France can't get close enough, even if they use power boost, which they haven't done on this last roll. They did in fact use power boost, believe it or not, on that run down into turn one, into the Tarzan corner.
The car next on the road, although somewhat further back, is the Dutch car, the host nation, running in 9th place. The Czech Republic car in 10th place, and then Team Canada in 11th. Brazil now 12th after that pit stop. USA's come up to 13th, so there's improvement from where they started. Australia running 14th, Indonesia 15th, China 16th, then Italy, Lebanon, and then Pakistan, and then those cars that are out of the race, India, Malaysia and Portugal.
Looking back from Germany into turn 5, there you can see the dip, then there's the compression. That isn't beach, by the way, that's the gravel runoff into turn 6. Quick flick down a gear, hard on the power. This is a corner that really just goes on and on. Lock up from Germany into turn 7, but the gap between Ireland and Germany and Ireland and France staying pretty constant.
Yeah, it is, although maybe a little chance there for Ralph Furman in the Irish car to close that gap. Scored points in the sprint race, of course, Team Ireland. They only scored points in 3 races in the entire of last season. They had a miserable time, so they'll be delighted to have points on the board already, and being in the tussle in the top 10 here in the feature race as well. But in the German pit wall, there's a little consternation. Willy Weber shaking his head. There must be a little problem with that car. Don't know what it is. They had some braking problems in qualifying. They did a very quick change of front discs on the car between qualifying sessions, and that enabled him to qualify in 2nd place. Now, what's going on here? Let's see. Trying to have a little look down the inside. Mexico on New Zealand. Mexico, Salvador Duran, late braking and nips past, and that means he's moved up into 4th place.
And that was pretty close, because Johnny Reid was pretty much committed to turning into the Tarzan corner, and he had to veer away because Duran, here he goes down again. Watch how late he leaves the braking, dives right into the apex of the corner. Johnny Reid on the outside, forced to move up the racetrack to give Salvador Duran the space he needed.
Great racing between 2 experienced A1GP competitors, but Mexico putting the squeeze on New Zealand and diving through on the inside. Both guys managed to keep it clean. There's still a long way to go in this race. 28 laps to go. There is the race leader. His gap has now pretty much stabilised at just over a second.
Yeah, it was running for the last 2 laps, 3 laps, 1.1 seconds. He's now pulled out a further almost 0.3 of a second on the last lap. So Oliver Jarvis once again is beginning to see that the advantage that he sensed he had in his car, certainly in that final qualifying for this race, is giving him the race car. And the race car that South Africa, which looked so good in the sprint race, is not delivering the kind of performance that we expected from South Africa. They're just inevitably dropping back fractions of second, lap on lap.
Czech Republic versus Canada. This is somewhat further down the field, but it is for a point, because Czech Republic currently 10th and Canada in 11th place. You've got a new guy, Eric Yanis, in the Czech car. He's the reigning Skoda Octavia champion, but he's not just a tin-top racer. He's raced Formula BMW competitively in the past. Here comes Ireland, and Ireland under a bit of pressure here, and round the outside goes Team France.
And the reason that France got that position was they used power boost to get alongside. They had to go the long way around, but he's been using his power boost for the last couple of laps, trying to use every opportunity he can to find a way past the Ireland car. He did it the long way around, and he got the job done.
Loic Duval for Team France, taking 7th place therefore from Ireland. Ireland will have to watch out for the Dutch car not far behind, because Bleekemolen's caught them up over the last couple of laps.
But it's the man who's going to have to really watch his mirrors. Is it going to be Team Germany, Christian Vettoris? Because Christian Vettoris' lap times are on average a second a lap slower than the first 3 cars in this race. And of course we think that France is capable of running quicker than Germany is as well. Now once he's broken free of Ireland, expect Loic de Waal to very quickly close down the German car, and if he can make that pass with the momentum he's going to bring with him, then that'll be something he'll look forward to doing as quickly as possible. Then it'll be up towards New Zealand. Mexico seems to be the one car that's capable of passing and moving forward, currently in 4th place, but some 6.7 seconds behind Switzerland in 3rd.
Yes, but pulling away from New Zealand, Johnny Reid isn't able to sustain that pace. As meanwhile behind Team Ireland, there's no doubt that Netherlands, Jeroen Bleekemolen, are getting very, very much closer. There is that 10th place car, the Czech car. We're riding on board now, sitting in behind the steering wheel with Eric Yanis as he winds his way around this Zandvoort track.
Yes, took 3rd gear going into turn 10, then 4th gear, 5th gear as he comes out onto the main straight, and then finally gets 6th gear, 260 kilometers per hour down into Tarzan Herpen.
Czech guys keeping an eye on things. The next race in the Czech Republic, of course, they'd love to go there by getting a decent result in this first event of the season, and I'm impressed by this young lad, only 20 years old, who's not put too many wheels wrong so far.
Well, just saying that, he got a big wobble coming into turn 3. As you now see that the Netherlands are closing right down on Team Ireland. Jeroen Bleekemolen, who at the start so far back lost 3 positions in the opening lap, now in clearer air is able to pick them off one by one. And I suspect it's going to be a lot more pressure for Ralph Fairman in the Team Ireland car before very long. His car appears to slide a little bit more as we watch them into turn 6 than that of the Netherlands.
Well, 2 of the smaller nations perhaps in terms of size here, Ireland and the Netherlands, but both with tremendous racing heritage and background and feisty drivers at the wheel.
But the Netherlands have got the tallest population in Europe.
That's right, the tallest people, that's right, no doubt about that. And more people living in the Netherlands than in Ireland as well, some 16 million of them here in the Netherlands. And in Ireland it's only about 4 million, so let's see what the competition is like on track. Here comes the Dutch car, and this is an interesting place to overtake, and he goes straight past.
Well, that was simply because he got off that tight right-left chicane turn 9 way quicker than Ireland were able to do, and simply just drove up alongside and inside into turn 10. Once it got to that position, then it was another loss of position for Ireland. Ireland down to 9th, Netherlands up to 8th.
So on a charge, you know, Bleekemolen, Ireland trying to come back again. Well, that was a brave move. He's managed to get alongside. Netherlands car will still have the inside for the next right-hander, side by side. He won't give up, neither gives up. Little bit of brake locking, and the crowd go wild as the Netherlands hold 8th place.
Well, I have to say, what a fantastic little bit of action on 2 corners. Ralph Fairman, who was cleanly overtaken, turn 10, all the way down the straight behind the Netherlands car, suddenly find momentum, picked up and got side by side in one corner, side by side in another corner, and only had to give up finally into the Hoofdrace happen.
So you never give up in A1GP. This was the moment when the Dutch car went past on the inside under braking, but what Fairman did sensibly was make sure that he had a good exit out of the corner. That was the part that the Dutch car went past, and there was the reaction from the fans in the stands there, hoping to see him move up even more. He's up into 8th place now, and the next target is A1 Team France, Loic de Waal, who himself is now beginning to pressurise the German car and New Zealand. Look, they're all tied up together, these 3.
So everybody coming to the end of the best of their tire. They'll be looking for the next pit stop window, which is going to come on lap 30 and to lap 38. So New Zealand controlling this group of cars. It's Duval, Team France, the 3rd of these 3 cars, who clearly is going to be the quickest. Watch to see whether he gets on par. Is Germany are on power boost? France currently not, but the slipstream might make up for it. Watch for the cars to fan out as they come down into the Tarzan corner. Alongside, France has got alongside Germany. Can he hold the position? Yes, he's got Germany. Pick them off. Pretty easy pass from Loic de Waal. Well executed, that's the key. Yeah, so France gain 1 place. That puts them up into 6th position now. And it does look as though New Zealand and Germany don't have cars that are as strong as some of their rivals here today. Not like at some tracks that we saw in season 2 when both New Zealand and Germany seem to have the edge. Now it's the A1 winners from the first season. Here it is again. Round the outside went Team France. No problem. Can you imagine Johnny Reid? He's got a car going one way in the left mirror, a car going in the other way in the right mirror, and he's worrying who's going to come back, who's going to be behind me when we come out of this corner.
And meanwhile, let me tell you that Great Britain's lead has opened up to 2.6 seconds over South Africa. Oliver Jarvis is just beginning to ease away from the South African car, but we've still got another pit stop to go in this race in around 8 or 9 laps time minimum. Could be a bit more than that depending when they come in that window.
When you watch the sprint race, you'd have thought South Africa, they've got this thing really tied down. They've got the quickest car, wins the sprint race. Come the feature race, and it's all got to do, in my mind, with the level of fuel you're carrying. Virtually 3 times the amount of fuel that you had for the sprint race. That makes a huge difference to how the car performs on those fuel tanks. As the fuel load lightens, and that will come very much at the last pit stop, it may be a different story. Maybe the South Africa car will be strong enough to come back at GBR, but right now it's Oliver Jarvis and Team GBR who are dominant.
New Zealand versus France. Here comes Loic Duval. What's he going to do? Is he going to try the outside line? He didn't, because Johnny Reid just sort of defended it and wouldn't let him down the inside. By the time he thought about the outside, it was probably a bit too late.
Yeah, so it's going to be a sort of a kamikaze move if he did it, and I think Loic Duval is too savvy a race driver to know that if you do something like that, you can blow it completely, and in fact the chances of getting away with a move like that would have been pretty much nearly zero. So he's backed off. Just all he has to do is keep himself in position. He doesn't have to overrun a car at this part of the racetrack. Where he needs to start his good work will be coming out of turn 9 and the short run down into turn 10, the 2 corners that then lead onto the main straight.
Riding with New Zealand now, so that the French car is right behind us as we ride with Johnny Reid, and he's got to have one eye on the mirrors just to sort of see that he covers any potential overtaking opportunity for the French machine. Johnny, of course, so strong throughout that second season of A1GP, taking New Zealand with Matt Halliday to the runners-up spot in the series. France, though, determined to come back from their dominant first season of A1 when Alexander Premat and Nicolas Lapierre were so successful.
Johnny Reid's maintained station. In fact, he's probably pulled a little bit on the French car, Loic Duval, as they go into turn 10. But you watch the Netherlands currently running down in 8th place, running behind Germany. That's going to be an issue which is going to come to a battle, I suspect, shortly. But New Zealand still capable. They've got New Zealand's used all their power boost. France has got 5 shots remaining.
And Germany's under attack from the Netherlands, and the Netherlands car goes round the outside of the German car, and look at the celebrations once again.
I'm not surprised, and you get the sense that, you know, Team Germany and Christian Vittoris, there wasn't an awful lot of resistance coming from the young German driver. And maybe what Jarvis said to me between the 2 races was that the stamina effect, the distance of this race, very, very tough race. Well, probably the toughest race overall in the calendar, maybe causing some of the younger drivers who've not done this before to really struggle.
Yeah, and bearing that in mind, I think we should still keep an eye on Team Switzerland, running in 3rd, reasonably solid and running on the same pace as the leaders, Oliver Jarvis and Adrian Zal. That was the move. As you say, it was really uncontested, wasn't it? And I don't think Christian Vittoris had an answer.
You know, it was almost sometimes a racing driver, when he's in a situation where he isn't able to fight and he's under pressure, it's almost a relief on occasion to say, well, oh, thank God he's gone. You don't want that pressure if you're really struggling within the cockpit.
And that gives Ireland a chance to gain a place now, because they are wrapped up behind Team Germany, who's dropped to 8th place as a result of that. Bleekemolen for Team Netherlands now up to 7th position, and with a chance of closing up to the French car perhaps, because Loic Duval still hasn't been able to find a way past Johnny Reid. And this is all helping Bleekemolen, because it will close everybody up together, and there might be 2 more passing opportunities before we get to the next round of pit stops. 6 laps away from the second pit stop window opening up, and Ireland now making a move on Germany. Ireland moves to the inside. I think this should be relatively straightforward for Ralph Furman. That German car, John, I don't think it's just tiredness. I just think they have a problem with that car. He just doesn't seem to have the pace that we would expect.
He was on power boost. He had 30 horsepower more than Ireland coming onto the straight. I think he isn't able to get onto the straight particularly quickly, whether that's to do with physical or just purely the car itself. But Ireland didn't use power boost, 30 horsepower less, but more exit speed, and that's what has enabled Ireland to get past Germany in a relatively easy manner.
So Team Ireland, therefore, they move up to 8th place, Germany back down to 9th. And then these guys are quite a long way ahead of the Czech Republic, running in 10th.
Now you see, he came off the corner so much more quickly. He caught Germany in the first third of the straight, and thereafter he was in position and no resistance whatsoever from Germany.
So the Czech car still in 10th, by the way, the final points paying position. Canada only half a second behind the Czech car, but there's the race leader. It is Team Great Britain, Oliver Jarvis at the wheel, 3.3 seconds ahead of his rivals, and it's looking good for him, but there's still another pit stop to go in this race. 20 laps to go now, and that pit stop window opens up in 5 laps time. Down towards the hairpin, and you can see that there is South Africa. chased by Switzerland. There's a car between them. They're lapping. So that's the Lebanese car running down in 18th place. And Chris Alajajian, I should think he's feeling it by now physically. In an A1 car more powerful than anything he's driven before.
If South Africa want to put themselves back at the races when the second round of pit stop window opens up, he's currently 4 seconds behind Great Britain. Part of that may be traffic that are lapping some of the cars that are down the field. Nevertheless, 4 seconds is a long way, and bearing in mind that the teams now are so well practiced in the art of pit stops, a little bit of delay there for Switzerland, getting held up behind Lebanon. Neil Yanni goes the long way around the way Lebanon pulls over to the right and lets that car go. But certainly for South Africa, and to some degree, lesser degree, Switzerland, if they're going to put a challenge on Great Britain, they need to close down the respective gaps. And frankly, in the laps remaining before that pit stop window opens, it looks very tough to me.
It does look tough, but well, let's wait and see exactly how it all turns out. Great Britain, South Africa, Switzerland are top three, and then running in 4th place, a little bit more lonely, is Mexico, followed by that battle between New Zealand and France, with the Netherlands closing in on it, then Ireland in 8th, Germany 9th, Czech Republic 10th, Canada in 11th, then it's Brazil, the United States and Australia, and here is that race between New Zealand and France then.
Like Duval closes back up, he's closer to the rear of the New Zealand car than he's been for a number of laps. Again, good exit speed, but matched pretty much by New Zealand as they come off turn 9. Now into turn 10. You can't overrun the car in the first part. You've got to build that process up now. And the New Zealand car taking a wider entry into the corner, the France car taking a tighter one, gets into the slipstream. France on the power boost. Can he pick up those 30 horsepower? Can he give an advantage? Swings one way, then the other way. Too far back to go the long way around. He's having a go at it, but I think New Zealand have, yes, and the New Zealand are able to sweep up and in a sense stall France's attempt to go around the long way.
Good attempt though, it just wasn't to be quite. So Johnny Reid here did a fine job of defending his position, did nothing untoward, just positioned the car well, and Duval eventually had to back out of it, and so he stays in 6th position and frustrated in his attempts to pass the Black Beauty. But that's what Johnny Reid's got to do. It's all about scoring points here today.
Yes, and France needed to have an extra car length going into that first turn, the Tarzan corner. He didn't have it, and Johnny Reid in the back of the car slides. He gets it back in control. Luckily, it's a long curve. There's no way you can pass coming into turn 7 unless the driver makes a big error. That was a small error, but indicative of the pressure. Now side by side in 8, but again, the long way round the inside isn't necessarily, and it's going to open up the door for Netherlands to slip through if these two get too racy. Yeah,
well, it's certainly allowed Netherlands to close up, hasn't it? Jeroen Bleekemolen right there with them now, as again France has to think about going alongside the New Zealand car. Team Pakistan, by the way, has been given a drive-through penalty. I'm not sure what it's for, but they will have to make a drive-through. 19th position they lie at the moment, but it's New Zealand versus France, and the Netherlands with Ireland closing in again. All of these guys racing for 5th place.
Watch for power boost. France, New Zealand's got none, France have got 4. Again, gets under the ring, he's not on power boost, comes up, gets along one way, gets down the inside. Now he's got the pass. Johnny Reid's got no answer for France. They've slipped through, but watch, don't let the Netherlands come through down the inside.
No, he didn't. I wondered, like you did, whether we would suddenly see the orange colours of the Dutch car also alongside, but he didn't. He managed to cover that, but France eventually has found a way past. He managed to dummy Johnny Reid into thinking he might move to the outside. Reid didn't really cover the inside sufficiently, and France was in like a shot.
Again, it was all to do with corner speed, exit speed out of turn 11 in conjunction with power boost, and that gave the French driver Loïc Duval the opportunity. Again, he made the pass stick on the first third of the straight. If you get it done there, then you have control going into turn 1.
So France, look at the way it's managed to get away from New Zealand. So France potentially looking very quick here. These guys have been lapping a good second or more slower than the leaders, Great Britain, South Africa and Switzerland, but France may be able to lap at a pace that's similar. Meanwhile, the Dutch car really looking for a chance, and with Ireland closing in as well, it's a wonderful three-way tussle in prospect, and we've still got another 3 laps until the pit lane opens for the second time.
Top 4 cars are going absolutely flat out. They're all lapping within a tenth of a second of each other, all in the high 1 minute 31.89, 32 second range. They know that they've got to push absolutely to the limit to get to this second pit stop window, which is going to come in 2 laps time.
Look at this. This is a chance for the Dutch because the New Zealand car was wide. The Netherlands might use the power boost.
He's on it.
Let's see whether he can do it. This time New Zealand covers the inside. Here comes Ireland as well. It could be a three-way battle. On the brakes into Tarzan. Ireland's trying to join in, trying to get alongside the Dutch car. Nobody can get past the Black Beauty though. And now Ireland's going to surely get past the Dutch machine. Not quite. Oh, well driven, Bleekemolen.
Again, poor Johnny Reid's got two cars in his mirror, not knowing which one's going to be the car coming out of the Tarzan corner behind him. It was very close. Ireland opportunistically, and well done, Ralph Furman. Ralph Furman's really discovering what being a racing driver is all about. He's loving this.
Yeah, I bet he is loving this. A real scrap. That's what these guys all enjoy. Identical cars. All these guys racing for their nations, not just for themselves. That's what A1GP is all about. And Ralph Furman for a moment thought that he'd got the move made on Team Netherlands, but it wasn't to be.
The other thing, I think Ralph Furman, of course, is accustomed to racing in Japan, in the heat, in enclosed cars. Very well, physically very, very good condition, and probably better condition than either Loic Duval or in that case of Johnny Reid.
Yeah, perhaps that's true, but of course he hasn't been in the single-seaters for so long. They've got power steering in those GT cars in Japan.
Yeah, but believe me, you sweat like a racehorse in one of those babies.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, the Dutch car still frustrated in its attempts, therefore, to get past the New Zealand car. He's got so much support, as Jeroen Bleekemolen. Every grandstand he passes, the flags are waving. He's being urged onwards. That was a better line through there from New Zealand this time. I don't think the Dutch car is going to be quite so close as he comes down the main straight. Look at them all standing up, trying to get a better view. Where is he? Well, he's not close enough this time.
No, he's not, and he didn't use his power boost. He's got one more shot. He's got to use it when he's a lot closer. He's got to use it really again on the exit of 11 to get under the rear wing of the New Zealand car. Then he can use it. If he's not close enough, then he's just going to waste it, and then he'll probably blow the possibility of being able to overtake. But we've got one lap to go before the pit stop window for part two of our pit stops opens up.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to go first into the pits. Oliver Jarvis for Great Britain has a 4.8 second advantage over South Africa. So a dodgy pit stop, and suddenly an advantage like that can be wiped out entirely.
Well, I would think that South Africa will be one of the first cars in. I would not be surprised if any of the top three all dive in at the earliest possible convenience. Remember now the fuel load is down to probably the levels or just below the levels that we saw in the sprint race. It was in that race that we saw the South Africa car so strong. We didn't see the strength of the Great Britain car until we saw the feature race with a lot more fuel on board.
As you can see from the graphic, the pit stop window for the second stop opens on lap 30, and we're on lap 30 right now. So the pit lane effectively opens up as they come around this next time, and let's see who will make a stop. The leader's already gone over the line. These guys will not be able to make their pit stop just yet. They've got at least another lap to do here, and once again here comes Team Netherlands looking for the quick exit. A bit of a slide from New Zealand.
Yeah, again, that's the problem that we've seen with New Zealand. The car has not been as under the driver as others around them, particularly the Netherlands and those that have gone ahead of New Zealand.
South Africa getting ready, Great Britain getting ready. Final stop coming up.
There's a surprise.
Yeah,
did I say it 2 laps ago? Or was that a surprise?
They're going for the early stop there, and as you say, it looks as though it's going to be a battle in the pits, but Oliver Jarvis for Great Britain's managed to open the gap to 5 seconds over South Africa. So Great Britain have got a little bit of time in hand. They can take their time with the pit stop and still come out ahead. Look at Ireland though, still Ralph Furman pushing hard to stay with the Netherlands, to maybe even get back past. And Germany, having dropped away a little bit for a few laps, now seems to caught back up again.
The reason is the paces of these 4 cars are dictated by the lead car. It's not running at the potential of the 3 that are behind. But of course, finding the way around, there's really that one good opportunity going into the Tarzan corner as you go back to race leader. Oliver Jarvis, expect to see him diving into the pit lanes for the last time this afternoon when he gets that new, or I assume it'll be a new set of rubber, Cooper tyres, and he gets in clean. He is coming in, so Great Britain first of the stoppers, second time around.
Into the pits then, he's got to weave it in here and then just get onto the speed limiter down towards his pit. Surely South Africa's going to be coming in at the same time, but there's a 5-second gap. Yep, in comes South Africa. This is the battle between the leaders, both looking for clean stops and both looking for a good set of tyres to help them through the last stage of the race. They run out of the garage. Looks like a new set of tyres available for the British car. And then South Africa go to work as well.
There's a scrub tyres going out of the South Africa car. So Oliver Jarvis out, 13.6 seconds. Good stop from Team GBR. Let's see the time on South Africa. It's not as quick a time. Problem on the rears.
Slow stop really from South Africa. Surely that was a little bit slow. Away he goes.
Well, they're showing 13.6 on the timing and scoring, but they look to me to be a problem around one of the rear wheels. Ireland also in. So everybody, Netherlands as well. So the front-running 6 cars all taking the earliest opportunity. They want to max out on those tyres. Again, that looks like a used set of tyres on the Netherlands car.
This is crucial, John. This is New Zealand and the Netherlands all battling, remember, here for position. And also coming in there involved is Lebanon, who were not in that race. Lebanon get out in front, and there's no change. All 3 cars came in like that. It's New Zealand, then the Netherlands, then Ireland.
Well, let's hope all 3 don't trip over themselves trying to get round the Lebanon car as they come up into turn 3, and everybody's going to be really follow my leader through this part of the racetrack. Netherlands trying to get right under the rear wing of that New Zealand car. Ireland doing likewise to the Netherlands. In the meantime, the Swiss car stays out on track, still leads this race until now. He comes in also for that final stop.
Experienced Neil Yarn, he's used to the longer distance races, and he's just done a good lap, a 1:31, or last time around he did 1:31.907. This is his in lap, so we won't know what that time is till he's crossed the line again. 38.1, pretty quick for him, and well, I'm not sure whether he's got a real chance to challenge the top few. Look
all over the place.
Ireland alongside Netherlands, almost there, as they all seem to trip over one another.
Don't know why they fanned out. I think it was just trying to get round the Lebanese car to watch the Swiss car. Came in second, lap 14 to go, so work's being done. Great Britain quickest in that second sector, now France equaling that time.
Let's see where Switzerland comes out in regard to South Africa, as again Ireland goes wheel to wheel with the Netherlands. I want to see where Switzerland comes out with regard to South Africa. It might be quite close between them, but these guys are all still racing so hard for position.
Yeah, but what they're doing by racing one another is they're doing great for us, great entertainment. Germany in. Germany is allowing New Zealand to pull away, fractionally bit by bit, pull away.
So he heads back out onto the circuit once again, but Germany definitely has been struggling a little bit here this afternoon. Rejoins behind this group, and here comes Ireland round the outside of the Netherlands. Oh, and he's done it! He's done it!
And Ireland has got stronger and stronger as we've gone through the second phase of this 45-lap feature race. It's Ralph Fairman and Team Ireland that are now the team to keep an eye on, and this bunch that are fighting over 4th and 5th, 6th places.
Well, fantastic stuff from Ralph Fairman. The new tyres on the Irish car, perhaps they changed the pressures, tried something a little different. It seems to be going much better now than the Dutch car. Take a look at this.
Just absolutely classic. Germany just coming out of the pit lane, carried the speed all the way down, did what Jeroen Bleekemolen told us he did a year ago, used the ability to go much deeper into the corner on the brakes and then get the bite, because that's a cambered corner, and carry the speed back to Oliver Jarvis, leading this race. First flying lap on those tyres, 1 minute. We wait to see it. 29.987, fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, fantastic effort by Oliver Jarvis. He's not actually leading the race because at the moment Mexico hasn't come in yet, but effectively he's leading it because he's the first of the guys to have made 2 pit stops in this race, and he's got an advantage over South Africa of some 9 seconds. So thanks to that pit stop, he went in with a 5-second advantage. He's come out with a 9-second advantage.
He's picked up 4 seconds. We thought that was in the pit stop. The time didn't indicate it, but we thought that the time in the pits for South Africa was much longer than it indicated on the timing and scoring.
And what it's done, Switzerland have closed to within 1.4 seconds now of South Africa in the battle for second. Jarvis and Great Britain have got a comfortable advantage here. They might not be leading the race yet, but they will be as soon as Mexico come in, and they could be heading for victory with 12 laps to go.
So here's the battle in effect. Well, it isn't on the road yet, but it is in effect for second and third places between South Africa and Switzerland. So Ireland have overtaken New Zealand as well. Ireland, we talked about being the nation on the move. Ireland now has got France in its sights, but that's a 6.9 second gap. Well, it was from New Zealand to France. It's probably around the same with Ireland to France.
Now Germany's looking better than before as well on this last set of tyres, and now hounding Bleekemolen, and suddenly Bleekemolen, who was going so well in the middle sector of this race, something different about these tyres perhaps. Maybe that again they've gone for a different tyre pressure, but it's not working for them. This is Ireland passing New Zealand.
Yeah, a classic move on New Zealand. Oh, did they touch? Well, they almost interlocked wheels as Johnny Reid moved up a little bit. He didn't squeeze Ireland that much, but neither gave much room to work. The gap opens up, but the momentum round the outside of the corner sees Ireland sweep ahead of New Zealand and take 6th place.
Great stuff from Ralph Fairman, and he, as you said earlier, I think he's loving this, getting involved in some real hard wheel-to-wheel racing.
Absolutely, there's nothing better than racing an open-wheel single-seater race car and spending all that time in whatever it is, these races in Japan, Super Touring or Super GT. Nothing equals driving a competitive single-seater.
Germany coming around the top corner now, and they've had a bit of a tough afternoon, tucked in behind Netherlands. Still, they run in 9th place, although it'll be 8th once Mexico make their second and final stop. But it's Ireland that has gained places up to 6th, which will become 5th once the Mexican car has been into the pits. And Netherlands definitely now, having been under pressure from Germany on the last lap, they've seemed to have eased away again. Yeah,
they've got 11 laps to go and just under 15 minutes for those 11 laps to be completed. So the pace at the front being effectively dictated by Great Britain. Mexico's now made it stop. It's still showing Mexico in the lead, but that'll work its way through the system. And the lap times again dropping into the middle of 1 minute 30s. Sort of fluctuates between Great Britain and South Africa who's quickest, but the significant difference is there's a 9.1 second advantage to Oliver Jarvis and Team GB. And really Oliver Jarvis can afford now to just maintain station. Doesn't have to push any harder.
Now this is the battle for 10th place. Actually, this has been like this for lap after lap after lap. James Hinchcliffe in the Canadian car, a lot more red on that car this year, has been tucked in behind Eric Yanis for most of the race, it seems, but he just can't find a way past. The gap's been around half a second for most of the last 20 laps. He actually had it down to 0.2 of a second when they came over the line last time, but he still hasn't found a way past him.
No, and I think Eric Yanis has done a fantastic job. I mean, first race effectively in A1GP, difficult race. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is the most physical of the races that we'll visit throughout the series, and with somebody who has a lot more experience in these cars. The only thing that James went through a very unpleasant experience on Saturday during qualifying. Maybe that car isn't quite as good as he would like it to be, but still he's running it as hard as he can.
Having a little look down the inside, but he didn't get alongside. He didn't actually outbrake the Czech car, which we ride with very, very briefly. Ahead of them on the road is the Lebanese car, but it's not ahead of them in position. They are about to lap that car. Lebanon running down in 18th position at the moment, and in fact I think they're last of the runners because Pakistan, as it says on our screens, is now it is actually just gone back out on track.
Yeah, it's just it means
drive through, and they've gone back out onto the circuit. So Pakistan is the last of the runners. India, Malaysia and Portugal are all out of the race. So round we come, another lap. Great Britain's lead was 9.2 seconds last time around over South Africa. Looking slightly further back down the order. Well, there is Great Britain, rather. Coming into lap a few cars here. Got Pakistan running just ahead of him. Oh,
Oliver Jarvis, he's not happy about it. Look, his hand out of the cockpit saying, get out of my way. Now, that's a very wide-angle camera lens. He's actually a lot closer to the car ahead of him, but he wants the flag marshals to pick up on his hand out of the cockpit. And it's Pakistan. He's waving at, get out of my way, Adam Khan.
Yeah, Pakistan is the last car in this race. It's running down in 19th position. And a new fastest lap for Mexico on that last lap in the 129s again, as Jarvis was a few laps ago.
Now, I think Oliver Jarvis is getting a little bit over-exercised. He is going to lose time behind the Pakistan car, but he shouldn't worry. He's still got effectively a 9-second advantage. He's not going to lose those 9 seconds. But of course, when you're the driver in the car behind a slower car, there is a responsibility of that car, Adam Khan, to move out of the way and let that quicker car come through. But he might say, well, look, he's not close enough. What do you want me to do? Stop on the track and wave him through?
Well, let's see what happens. Mexico, as I say, just set fastest lap. That is because they've made their pit stop now, and Mexico's rejoined in 4th position. So Salvador Duran still looking to get useful points, and eventually Pakistan does virtually stop.
Yeah, he did almost literally pulled over, said, come on, I can see the hand signals, I'm going to let you go through. I'm running down at the tail of the field, you're leading the race, and I'll make it easy for you, which he did, and it was quite correct to do so.
Yeah, and I think that Jarvis, Great Britain, won't have lost a huge amount of time. Look at the gap counting away at the bottom of the screen there. We're waiting for the South African car to come across the line. Great Britain still with 5 power boosts. Look, 8.3.
He lost a second.
Yeah, he lost a second, but when you put a margin of that amount, it really doesn't matter too much. Great Britain still very, very comfortably in the lead of the race with 8 laps to go.
So New Zealand with Netherlands and Germany behind, and what a change around. Ireland was behind this bunch. He went through. France, of course, went through that much earlier. Now it's sort of a reversal, and it's the Netherlands coming under pressure from Germany and still trying to put pressure, the Netherlands that is, back onto the New Zealand team.
Yeah, Ireland, as you say, further up the road. Not really, I think, very likely to catch up to France, who are running in 5th place, Ireland in 6th.
They have actually taken about a second of that advantage away from France. It's down to 5 seconds, but with 8 laps to go, it doesn't look likely, unless there's, again, maybe traffic coming into play, that Ireland can make any further impression on France for that 5th place.
So, Johnny Reid for New Zealand, defending from the Dutch car of Jeroen Bleekemolen, whose charge up through the field has been somewhat halted, and that second pit stop for whatever reason. It may be that he had scrubbed tyres, or perhaps the tyres took a little bit longer to come up to temperature than some of the other ones around him. He's now seems to be back on the pace once again, and the car beginning to look a little bit more comfortable than it did when he first came out of the pits. But
again, you see Johnny Reid's car, the way he almost dirt tracks the car into turn 6.
And Germany almost has to get out of the way to avoid hitting the back of the Dutch car.
I mean, there was no chance to make that pass. He had a shot at it. He realised that Bleekemolen was maybe focusing too much on New Zealand and forgetting about Germany behind, but that was never realistically a pass, and there was a closing door, and closing doors are never good situations when you're trying to get past.
No, but this is still a great tussle between three top nations in A1GP, New Zealand, the Netherlands and Germany. Each of these three countries, of course, have won races in A1GP over the last 2 seasons, and they want to get their campaign in this 3rd season and up and running as quickly as possible. Team Germany, the defending title holders here. Christian Vittoris, though, down in 9th place, and he just has had a pretty difficult afternoon.
Well, looking at the big screen in the background coming across the line, and once again down. We've got 7 laps to go, and New Zealand, well, I can't say that they're comfortable in their 7th place, but it looks to me as if the gap between New Zealand, Netherlands and Germany, pretty much they've sort of decided that the pace they're going to run at is the pace of the New Zealand car. Very often the right thing to do is to drop back. It might only be a car length, a couple of car lengths, and then try to pick up the momentum again and have a go. But with the restriction on the opportunities to pass principally into turn 1, I think Johnny Reid's pretty wised up to all the options. He's been the victim of many of them.
You know, John, it's interesting. You know, we know that New Zealand and Germany share engineering knowledge. It looks again as though, although they were quick when they first came out after the pit stops, now Germany's beginning to drop off that battle again. New Zealand's coming back to the Netherlands. It almost looks like whatever setup they've got, it works well for a couple of laps and then it seems to go off a touch.
Well, this is the problem. We didn't get any dry running on Saturday. Nobody got the chance to find out, A, what was a quick car setup, but more importantly, what's going to be good for the duration of the race. So everybody was going into it literally just saying, well, this is what we might have done last year, we think we'll run the same this year, but not necessarily are always the same drivers in the car. In New Zealand's case, no, it wasn't. And in Germany's case, clearly it wasn't. The only constant here would be Bleekemolen in the Netherlands car.
That's right, yes, he did race here last year, whereas, as you say, the other 2 guys were not representing their nations in those races. Matt Halliday raced for New Zealand, and Nico Hulkenberg, the man who went on to be such a star of the 2nd season, raced for Team Germany. But, well, the Netherlands car definitely looking better now as he gets a few more laps on those tyres. Didn't close up quite so much on that lap, but he may still be able to close up. Now, let's see how much time. We've got 6 laps to go, or 7¼ minutes to go.
It's going to be a close call. It might actually be a timed race, but it is 69 minutes plus 1 lap. So it's going to be either 1 lap less than the 45, or it's just going to make it within that time zone.
Top speeds we're looking at in the graphic at the bottom, and look at that, top speed has gone to Canada, which is interesting. They've been stuck in that 11th place. Just last lap around, it was the same situation. He was 2/10. He was right under the gearbox of the Czech car.
Well, that to me indicates that Canada have chosen to run a fairly low rear wing setting to give themselves highest top speed. The danger of doing that is that you lose the balance and the bite of the car around the back of the circuit. As we look at Mexico, Salvador Duran still driving absolutely, I mean, he's currently the quickest car on the racetrack, and he's now just waiting to see when he comes across the start-finish line what the time difference is as we go back on board to this battle between New Zealand, Netherlands and Germany.
That's right, and Mexico looking to get 2 4th places here today. Be a good start to the championship for Salvador Duran. He may miss out on a podium finish, but 2 solid 4th places. Of course, for South Africa, things are looking good for them to be leading the championship, leading Zandvoort, because they're running in 2nd place to Great Britain. They took the win earlier on. Great Britain finished down in 7th place in the sprint race. Identical points now on offer to both the sprint and feature races. And that means with South Africa sitting in 2nd place, they're looking pretty to be leading the championship, heading out of the 1st round from Zandvoort and heading off to the Czech Republic and Brno. Well, Mexico should be up there too with 2 consistent results, 2 4th places. Great Britain will be up there with a potential victory, but let's wait and see. There's still some time to go in this race.
So this is a little battle we've been watching for a number of laps, and as you can see, they've all basically either accepted that that's the speed we're going to run at because we can't get any closer effectively to Johnny Reid as race leader. Team GBR driver Oliver Jarvis sweeps through that turn and looks very comfortable, very in control, lapping now in the high 1 minute 30s, and really that waiting for the gap, and it was around 9+ seconds, between 9 and 10 seconds over South Africa. Now 10 seconds exactly.
Canada has just come into the pit, so despite that battle, there is Katie Clements, who is team principal effectively for Team GBR now. Tony Clements, her father, is the seat holder, but she's going to be the one sort of running things for Team Great Britain this year. And what a start to the season this is looking like for Oliver Jarvis for Team Great Britain. Potential victory with under 4 laps to go, because I think they're going to run out of time before they complete the 4 laps.
That looks right as South Africa comes up into turn 5, and really there was no response, no answer at that last stop. It did look to us like he lost a lot of time as we look at Team Canada and talking to Team Ireland. So Mark Gallagher of Ireland and Canada, they cooperate under investigation. Canada, the Czech Republic.
Well, maybe there was contact. Maybe that's why Canada has eventually come into the pits. They were battling for so many laps. I would think they had a coming together, and it's now under investigation by the clerk of the course.
Indeed, so we assume that the Czech car is still running. As it looks down in 10th place, it is. But for Canada, it's all over. A lonely race in many ways for Neil Yarni, and Switzerland done a very good job for Switzerland. A strong run again from the Swiss team, but just not able to keep in contact. 12 seconds behind Team GBR, a further 2 seconds behind Team South Africa in second place.
Yeah, but 2 good results today, because he had a 5th place finish in the first race. He's got a 3rd place finish on the cards here. So again, he's going to be one of the more consistent point scorers. It's going to be very close, except for South Africa. I think South Africa will have the edge. I'm afraid that it looks like Lebanon's day is done. Chris Alajajian, his first event in A1GP, the feature race at least, comes to a slightly early halt. He has not quite made it to the checkered flag. Back on board with Jarvis. I wonder if he's beginning to feel the physical effects a little bit, even himself, as fit as he is. But what a result this is potentially. He's also racing in Japan. He flies back to Japan to compete next weekend. So he's all over the globe in his attempts to build his career. But there's no doubt that this young man is a star. Winner of the Formula Renault Championship in the UK. Of course, same series that Lewis Hamilton won a few years ago. And Oliver Jarvis comes from a similar background of performance in both karting and the junior ranks.
And what has also, I think, been very impressive with Oliver Jarvis in this Team GBR car, he has got a specific style of driving, which is, I would consider to be very complementary to the car. Robbie Kerr is a more aggressive, more tenacious racer. Seems to be sometimes uses the car maybe too hard. For Oliver Jarvis, you might sometimes think underuses the car by comparison.
Well, whatever, it's certainly working well in this one. He's coming up to lap Australia and the United States, who are battling over 12th position. That's a pretty impressive run, isn't it? There is the Union flag being waved proudly here, not far away from GBR here. Just a quick ferry ride or quick flight over the North Sea. So it's good to see some fans have come to the Netherlands this weekend. But up ahead of him, he's got Buddy Rice in the American car, Ian Dyke in the Australian car, and he'll want to try and nip past them fairly quickly, although his advantage over South Africa now up to a full 10 seconds, 10.008 seconds last time around. So Jarvis really has plenty in hand here. He can afford to perhaps not take too many risks through the traffic. Still New Zealand holding on to 7th, the Netherlands running in 8th place, Germany in 9th, no change here over the last few laps. And then some 10 seconds further back, it is the Czech Republic holding on to the final points paying position, with Brazil, Australia and the USA after that.
Yeah, it's been pretty much a textbook performance from Team GBR. They got the advantage at that round of first pit stops, but from thereafter Oliver Jarvis has managed to pull away unchallenged. And the only moment of stress that we saw was when he was running for half a lap behind Team Pakistan, and his arms out of the car waving and indicating, let me through. But he's driven an absolutely exemplary race, wheel perfect, and never really, once he got the lead from South Africa, been under any kind of threat at all.
No, he's that very consistently around the low 31s, 1 minute 31s at the moment. Less than a minute to go in this race, 2 laps to go, so we'll be on to the final lap in just a moment. Great Britain crosses the line then, and he's on to the final lap, and it looks as though it's going to be victory at the very first meeting of the year for Great Britain. John, it took so long, it seemed so long for Great Britain to take their first win. It was this man who delivered it in Mexico in season 2.
Yes, it was a fine victory, and again it was all about the way I think Oliver Jarvis has approached this particular job with Team GBR. His personality and character is a very large part that has led to his success in the car. Here again, another outstanding drive the real trademark, the stamp of Oliver Jarvis. What's going on? He's backed off. Well, I don't know why he was bothering to do that. I don't know whether there's a... Surely not. I mean, why should he let a lap car unlap itself? Why? What's the reason for that?
I don't know. Let's hope that he's not got a problem here. Jarvis, GBR's just let the United States car through. Lou riding on board with him, listening. Sounds okay, looks okay. Doesn't seem to have lost any particular pace, but definitely let a slower car back past him.
All I can think is that either he's being super cautious because he's been told he's got a virtual 10-second lead. Surely it can't be he's running low on fuel. That's the only other reason I might think that somebody would slow down so much. I mean, he's probably slowed down 4 seconds a lap.
His throttle trace, I was trying to watch. I don't know if that was okay. It looks okay. He's still sitting in there behind the USA. He's only got a little bit of the lap to go. I think he's all right. Bit of a scare because it seemed a bit strange to let the USA car back past. Let's just watch him out of the last corner. Final lap, checkered flag, being prepared. It is going to be victory. Despite a little heart-fluttering moment for us in the commentary box, it is a victory for Great Britain. Across the line, he takes the feature race victory here. And it's going to be South Africa to take second place. And what does that mean to Oliver Jarvis? The gap down to 5.7 seconds. He lost 5 seconds on the last lap. Switzerland come home in third. It's Mexico in fourth.
Well, he may have a problem, but we'll find out very shortly when we do those post-race interviews. That's going to be the first question.
Battle here, Netherlands versus Germany. This is for position, and it's for 8th place with Christian Vittoris trying to get alongside Jeroen Bleekemolen. Bleekemolen using all his circuit knowledge to defend.
Yeah, he can run them all the way out to the edge of the track. He wasn't far enough around to try and take that position, but again, can he do it on the exit of 11? He's going to maybe try and get that slipstream, but the checkered flag is fairly early on the straight. Looks to be safe for the Netherlands in 8th place.
Yeah, New Zealand finishes in 7th, slightly ahead of them. In 8th place, it's the Netherlands. 9th place, Germany. And then it should be the Czech Republic in 10th place. And we didn't mention France and Ireland. They finished in 5th and 6th places. What a tremendous result it is for Team GBR, who waited so long for their first victory in the first 2 seasons of A1GP, and they've taken their first win of the year at the first event. Let's hear from seat holder Tony Clements.
Tony, what a brilliant start to the season.
Well, I said before it started, if we could kick off this season the way we finished up, the way we ended last season, then we were in for a good 2007-2008, and I think that was fantastic. I'm going to put it down to Aqua SB. Ollie was a little nervous this morning. We gave him 3 litres of Aqua SB, and it was like giving spinach to Popeye. Suddenly he came out and he was a different man. And boy, did he drive a great race.
Well done, Tony. Well done, Katie. Thanks a lot.
Many congratulations to the whole team, and a superbly driven race. And what great pit work. Let's not forget that, because there are now 2 pit stops in A1GP, and each pit stop worked perfectly, and the British crew were absolutely spotless when it came to changing those wheels and getting him back on his way again. It's tough in A1GP. Only 1 guy allowed on each corner of the car, and for team manager Paul Berrell-Ringer, that will be a proud moment, I think, because the crew delivered as well as the driver. Oliver Jarvis taking victory. South Africa, though, with 2nd place here in the feature race, will have taken 16 points from the first race, 12 points from this 2nd race, and they will be series leaders going away from the first event of the new season. So it's been a brilliant weekend for Team South Africa, and you have to say Adrian Zhao, a mature Adrian Zhao, not throwing away a possible top result by thinking he should still hold on for the win. He didn't quite have the car in the feature race that he needed, but he still came home with a 2nd place finish. Switzerland 3rd, and Neil Yarni back on the podium, a place we've seen him many times before for A1GP Team Switzerland. And Switzerland will be a threat, I am sure, through the season. Netherlands, well, a good fight there for Jeroen Bleekemolen, and I think he's done his countrymen proud. He's going to do, I think, a few donuts. Yes, he is, of course. The Dutch love their show, and that's great to see. He'll get a huge reception for that. And he fought hard all the way through. He moved up the order, qualified 11th, dropped to 14th on the first lap. He's finished in 8th place. He did have a little bit of a poorer final stint. It did look as though the final set of tyres wasn't quite as quick as the earlier set. But look at Jarvis. Oliver Jarvis punches the air. It's a great day for British motorsport, and Oliver Jarvis takes victory here at Holland, at Zandvoort, and he takes his 2nd win in A1GP. And what a strong team they've got, Team GBR, with him and Robbie Kerr. Adrian Zhao congratulates him. after a fighting second place finish for the South African. And Neil Yarni will be down there somewhere. There he is, clambering out of the Swiss car. And they'll head up now towards the podium after a hard contest physically. I'm sure these guys will be quite relieved to be out of their cars. That was hard work there. I expect Neil Yarni will be feeling it a little bit himself, even as experienced as he is from running the long distance races in champ car events throughout the course of last season. I think that's a very welcome slurp that he's taking there before he heads upstairs and up onto the podium. A slap on the back there from James Robinson too. James, who of course was with Team GBR last year and guided Jarvis to his first victory in Mexico, but he's switched camps over the winter and he's now helping Team Switzerland, looking after the engineering for them. And Neil Yarni, I'm sure, will be joined throughout the season by Sebastian Buemi too, who was very competitive in last year's series. And Jeroen Bleekemolen, who's, I think, represented Team Netherlands extremely well here today. He was third in the sprint race, got that vital podium finish that they were chasing, that they missed out on so narrowly here last year. And he got it in the sprint race, and he fought hard throughout that second race, and I hope that many of the Dutch fans really do take him to heart, because the guy is good. He's got a lot of style, a lot of panache about his driving, and he's just a great guy to deal with as well. The final result of the feature race: Great Britain from South Africa, Switzerland in third, Mexico in fourth ahead of France, and a great result for Ireland in the top six with Ralph Furman. New Zealand seventh, Netherlands in eighth, Germany in ninth, and the Czech Republic the final point in 10th. Brazil took 11th ahead of Australia. 12th place, 13th place for United States, then Italy, China and Indonesia. Pakistan in 17th place, Canada a late retirement. Also out of the race, the Lebanon, India, Malaysia and Portugal. Well, I can hear the horns blaring in the grandstands. That's because this man, Jeroen Bleekemolen, is providing them with something to cheer about. He's having a chat with Jan Lammers, I think, down there at the moment, as we just await the drivers, the other drivers, the top three appearing onto the podium to celebrate the feature race. 45 hard laps there were in these sunny conditions that we've been blessed with this afternoon. There he is though, Jarvis comes out, proudly displaying the Union flag and the new colours for Team GBR, the red flush. That's a theme not only on the car but on the overalls, as you can see. And Oliver Jarvis back where he feels he belongs, on that top step. It really is a tremendous time for fans of British motorsport, seeing him up there. We've got Adrian Zaug in second place, and Neil Yarni, of course, taking third position for Switzerland. There he is. Well, he's been up there a few times, he knows the feeling. It looks as though a little bit of frustration there. Perhaps he felt there could have been a bit more to come. Finished just 2 seconds behind South Africa in the end. After that second round of pit stops, South Africa definitely lost some time in the pits, but despite that, they were able to come back and do well themselves. So it's the bronze trophy there, the bronze medal rather, that is presented to Neil Yarni. One win to his credit in A1GP to date. That was in Malaysia last year. He's been on the verge of winning several times, but it is a good start to the season for A1 Team Switzerland, no doubt about it, and I think we'll see much more from them as the season progresses. They've got a couple of rookie drivers, lady rookie drivers, Rahal Frey and Natasha Gachnen, who may well be doing some of the rookie sessions for them this year. There is the man who won the sprint race earlier today, but he takes second place in the feature race, but he is the new, or the series leader, coming away from this first event. Team South Africa leads A1GP World Cup of Motorsport, and that's the story that the team will be most delighted to read in the newspapers tomorrow. But the first feature race victory of the season goes to Team GBR. Oliver Jarvis has done it for the team, and a very useful 15 points go the way of Team Great Britain. The man who won the feature race in Mexico, and then supported Robbie Kerr through victories at Shanghai and Brands Hatch, and he's back to winning ways. champagne spray time, and Ollie's going to enjoy this moment. Couldn't really have done much better in that race, and although Team South Africa, as I say, might have loved to have taken the double, they haven't done that yet, but
Welcome to the Benjia after a superb afternoon's racing here in Zandvoort, and I've got three very happy but three quite tired drivers who did a superb job. First of all, Oliver Jarvis, Team GBR. Second, Adrian Zog after winning the sprint race for South Africa, and Neil Yanni third for Switzerland. Oliver Jarvis, first question I've got to ask is, on that last lap, you slowed down, you lost 4 seconds. What were you doing?
I was being told by the pit crew to slow it down, try and conserve fuel. I slowed it down probably 5-6 laps to go from the end. They were worried a little bit about fuel consumption, so backed off, took higher gears. Just wanted to enjoy the moment, I suppose, with no rush.
I think everybody watching were thinking, what's gone wrong? Is he going to run out of fuel? But simply just the team said, take it easy. When you let USA pass, we really were worried.
No, just coast into the end, like I said, a big gap. Enjoy the moment and make USA do an extra lap.
Now, it looked to me that you came in a lap later, than 1 lap earlier than South Africa for the pit stop. You gained the advantage in that pit stop. Once you got ahead, it looked very easy.
I think we were quicker than South Africa all along. Actually, when we took a pit stop, I thought we made a mistake. We came out in big traffic, but fortunately managed to sort of deal with that very swiftly. And I was surprised by the gap we had once Adrian had pitted. You know, we had a couple of seconds. He looked to close in, but I was able to pull out a much bigger gap for a third stop.
Now, you've won twice now for Team GBR, once in Mexico here in Zandvoort. Standing on the podium playing the national anthem, you actually look quite emotional and very sort of, it means something special to win for your country.
Of course it does, you know, you're representing your country, but not just that, my family are here. So it was a very proud moment for myself after quite a difficult start to the weekend.
Well, let's move on to Adrian Zog. Adrian, say earlier, you won the sprint race in an emphatic, dominant fashion. We thought you were going to go out and pretty much do the same in the feature race, but it didn't really happen.
Yeah, actually after the start it was such a surprise that I couldn't go quicker than what I was doing, and Oliver closed up on me pretty quickly, and I thought, okay, that will be a tough one. And I saw them all getting into the pits, and I just tried to push as hard as I can. But then with the second set got a lot better. I was able to close up on him in the first couple of laps. And from there on was a tough race, but I mean the conditions are changing all the time, so it's quite difficult, you know, to always get the maximum.
I mean, how much do you think that all the wet running on Saturday really put most of everybody, in a sense, on a back foot?
Well, it was, like you say, it's the same for everyone. Everyone had the same conditions, so it's no real advantage or disadvantage for anyone, really. But like I said, like from the sprint to now, the track changed quite a bit, so maybe that didn't really help us.
Well, you got a first in the sprint race and fastest lap, 16 points. You got 12 points for finishing, so South Africa's comfortably in the lead as you go into Brno.
Yeah, that sounds good, but it's early days. It's just the first race weekend, so we just have to keep delivering results, and we should be up there.
Well, let's move on to Neil Yanni and Team Switzerland. Neil, third place, and again, good points from the sprint race and the feature race. But it looked to us like you had, at parts, a very busy race, and other parts, it was a bit lonely out there.
Yeah, at some stages. Sprint race obviously was a little bit difficult because I had to learn the track actually in the dry. It was my first time I drove in the dry on that track. And in the feature race we got also the car a bit better. Start was really good. I was nearly in the wall because of Germany then, so Oliver got past me again exiting turn 1. And then I was just trying to keep up with the guys in front of me. And catching Adrian at some stages, then falling back again, catching him again. Was just a cat and mouse game in the end. But I'm happy with third. It's a great start for Team Switzerland. Yeah,
and it looked to us again you had some pretty good action down in Tarzan corner and also just behind the pits, because that's where most of the overtaking was getting done.
Yeah, that's where I got Germany for the chicane. Was quite a close maneuver, but it worked out. I even touched Pakistan when I think lapped them because they didn't see me. So it was an exciting race still, but unfortunately not more than third, but I'm happy with that.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a contentious question. You've now got the engineer working on your car that worked on Oliver's car last year. Has he got some secrets that are going to help you beat Oliver or not?
Well, I hope so. We'll see next race.
Oliver, what do you think about that? He's got your engineer.
Yeah, he's got James Robertson, fantastic engineer. We were sorry to see him go, but James Goodfield stepped up and done the job.
Did a fantastic job for you, and a fantastic job by all three.